Want my latest market insights? My latest report, Recession Risk Just Got Pulled Forward Again, is now available. Scan this QR code or click on the link in the description.
What did I say a month ago? What have I been saying all along? I said the options are too cheap. The longer term options especially are way too cheap. What are we starting to see now? That's starting to adjust. They're starting to pay up for those 6-month, 8-month, 12-month options. That upside call skew is starting to reflect a little bit of excitement. And that to me means there could be actually a little bit more, because as we sometimes talk about, you often sort of see that inverted skew, which we call it. I'll show you guys that chart again that I showed last week. I said, there is more room to go. I think I may have shown it a couple weeks ago. And I said, listen, this is showing you that there is room to go from an excitement standpoint. So when people start to get excited, they start buying those out of the money calls. They start covering shorts by buying calls, or they're just expressing their FOMO or their excitement about things to the upside. And upside often is very, very compressed. I had an argument with somebody last week on Twitter about, you got to be careful selling calls. They're always compressed. He said, you don't know what you're talking about. Immediately, I got the latest research from Nomura showing that call selling has been a horrific trade this year for the past year. Absolutely horrific. The upside is cheap, 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 which you and I have been talking about for about 800 points now. So this is nothing new to the viewers of our show. So hopefully people have been taking advantage of that, because it has been an absolute smorgasbord of opportunity to the upside, because you have these resets happening very, very quickly. I know I was a little bearish on Google at one point, but I actually made a bunch of money because it resets so quickly from 180 to about 240, 250. I started getting out at 230 and pieced it out. The upside is not being captured properly. And I know that takes a bit of a leap of faith. Of course, these stocks have to go up, but that's what we do. We're looking at, well, what could happen and where are they potentially mispricing that? And I think there's maybe even more upside in certain names. Like I look at something like Micron, where it's trading way, way cheaper than some of the other semiconductor names. And it has that tailwind of memory, that side of things that's become very, very important. So I'm looking around, I'm seeing, okay, some of these things have adjusted lately. And now I'm starting to actually look at different kinds of strategies, at least in the shorter term, broken wing butterflies, which are long the upside, but also play for that potential higher level of vol. You can't get as aggressive when you have to pay a higher level of option pricing. So there's different kinds of things you do depending on the environment, but there's still opportunity out there, I think. And
are you also, one of the reasons why this calls are still cheap mantra is because realized volatility has been just coming down, 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 down. And here we are.
Exceptionally low. Yes, you're right.
Exceptionally low. So this is one of the reasons. I didn't want to interrupt it, but I wanted to show that chart because that's one of the reasons you have been continuously saying it's cheap. Calls are cheap. The upside is cheap, skew, etc.
Yeah, and that's definitely part of it. I mean, there is this realized vol. I think we hit a 4 on a shorter term measure, which you never see. I mean, it's exceptionally low. And as we know, we kind of been joking about that Sharpe ratio put selling strategy. We said, well, that's just kind of crazy. That's not going to last forever. Well, we did have a couple of days where somebody got run over. Somebody I knew got really run over, because all it takes is one day. When you're selling very, very cheap vol, that'll work as long as the market just keeps ticking up. As soon as you get that little 2% downturn in the market, you are going to get smoked. So there's always a risk in that. And that's why when you get vols that low, it gets me very uncomfortable. You just know that you're one corner away, turning the corner to a potentially difficult position. So there's no question, realizes is down, it's low. But having said that, we are seeing those implieds very low, and that upside tends to be compressed. So it's
you're also referring to the 5%. So this SPX at the money IV reading of just 5% represents extreme vol compression.
It is very low, but it's in a sense it's low. It's almost expensive versus what we've been experiencing. But yeah, definitely. I'd say sort of the shorter term option pricing is very low. It's maybe not low based on actual reality. When we look at actual volatility, we call that realized, we call that historical. It's been quite low as well, but it doesn't take much, especially into an event. I don't think it paid today because we kind of swung around, but that's pretty normal for a Fed day. We think things are going to go one way or another, and they often don't. It's the next day. It's the Thursday, Friday. We got to watch tomorrow and the next day for signs of an actual trend. Are we going to pull back? To me, it felt very much like maybe we've put a bit of a top into, basically somebody came out and said, well, they said 2 more cuts. And somebody said, well, what's one cut going to do? And he said, well, it's the trend. So he said, listen, there's a trend in place price here. And so I think that at the very least has the potential to maybe put just a little bit of a lid on what's been working, which of course has been mag, has been tech, has been AI. So maybe just a little bit of a rotation now. I don't know what you think, Samantha, into kind of maybe more real world stuff, more rate sensitive kinds of areas, real world touch and feel stuff. AI is not going away. In my roaring 20s scenario, which I've been talking about for a long time, it's not so much that one necessarily pulls back. It's they're playing sort of leapfrog and one pauses and they keep going. And even the pause has been kind of wrong. Like I remember when we hit 6,000, I thought, okay, well, we're going to pause for a bit. Nope, we went to 6,250. And then I thought, well, we're going to pause a little. So I've never been bearish at any point along the way, but I did think we'd pause a little longer than we have at certain pit stops. And we really haven't. It's just been exceptionally strong based on the backs of, I think it really is kind of same old story, which is excitement about AI.
Join Samantha and Hans at the next Macro to Micro Options Power Hour held each Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Registration is free. Scan this QR code or click on the link in the description. Watch the full Options Macro to Micro Power Hour episode by clicking on the video here and subscribe to LaDucTrading YouTube channel for more content.